Hi guys, welcome to Chakra Sessions. I'm your host, Polly Jo Labbe, here broadcasting to you live through YouTube on our Trinity Mystical Energy channel using the platform of Be Live. So welcome. And today's show is all about returning to your heart flow. It's such an interesting topic because whenever I have a theme, my spiritual team gives me the idea for what the show is going to be about. And then the unfolding of the week before, the few days before, it gives me the nuggets of information around it. And the interesting thing that's been coming up around heart flow is that a number of people have been feeling overwhelming emotions. Sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're angry, but it's like they're coming in floods, right? This emotional energy is flooding, and we often have this feeling of that's bad. But really, our heart just is flowing with feeling and remembering how to be in that space of that flow, and how we can share it with others and be okay with others' emotional experience, and having that empathy and compassion for ourselves when we're in it. One of my recent client that I saw, she was using the mantra, be kind to myself, that it's okay to experience whatever we're experiencing it, but are we being kind to ourselves? And so I just thought that was such a juicy thing for us to be talking about. So there's so many of you here that I wanted to check in with. Hi, Ellen. I'm so excited you're here. I miss you too. I look forward to seeing you in September. We'll have to get you, in person. It's been nice. I had somebody in person today. I have somebody in person tomorrow. I have my peeps coming up from Massachusetts to visit me by the ocean. And that I just feel like that salt water and the salt air just helps with the cleansing and the purifying of the healing work. So I'm excited. I hope I get to see you in person when you're coming up to visit. So happy to see you. And hello, Carol. Nice to have you in the house. Thanks for being here. It's so nice to just, reconnect with people who've journeyed with Chakra Sessions over the years. So thanks for being present. And Julie, hi, Julie. I just always want to give you a big hug. You have such a beautiful presence. I mean, you were always very calming for me when I was at Star Nations doing my teaching work in person at the academy. You definitely held that solid for me. So thank you for that. So welcome to the show. And thank you ahead of time to Rob for co-piloting. He runs the back scene so I can just calm down and be me, which is, one of those extra gifts, right? That, when we can team up to make our healing impact get out there, and we all do our thing that we're really good at. That's great. So returning to your heart flow, it kind of sounds like you lost it at some point. But it's more of a remembering, so often we get caught in the doing and the spinning of our everyday life, and it can get really overwhelming. And one of the things that's been coming up for me, many of you know, I've been on this, hero's journey for a few weeks. I just got back, and, moving one of my children across country to Dallas, driving from Maine to Dallas, and then journeying over to California and visiting my youngest son, driving up to Napa Valley to visit my dad who had a minor stroke, and coming back. There was a lot of emotions flowing. And so part of my own journey was that energy of all the feels coming through and having moments where there was no controlling it. There was no stopping it. There was no stuffing it away for another day when it's more appropriate. Just coming through like a tsunami. But in that moment, breathing into the present and allowing the flood to kind of flow by and just feeling my heart, feeling that presence of kindness and compassion for myself, and that all of that was happening around me and through me, but it wasn't me. And part of returning to your heart flow is remembering how to return to you. That inner being who is just you in any moment. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no judgment, there's no wounding, there's just being. And often we haven't been in contact with that part of ourselves often enough to even be comfortable with having a relationship with our being. We're yearning for it, we're seeking it, we're traveling, when all we have to do is stop and just fall back into it. And so part of the returning to heart flow is learning to be okay when we're not okay. Sitting in our own discomfort and not judging it. Just being, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling intense anxiety, but in this present moment, I'm breathing and I'm feeling, and that is moving through me. And what's so sweet about when we can find a way to do that, and I know I'm making it sound simple and it is not, but when we can find a way to do that, the emotional flooding that passes through really quickly. Minutes instead of hours or days, It's when we're trying to control it and stop it and judge it that we really get into this place of discomfort, because we're discomfort. we're uncomfortable with our uncomfortableness. So Rob's saying it, you make it look simple. Yeah. You wouldn't have said that had you seen me on day 21 of my journey, when my bag was overweight at the airline. I knew it was going to be overweight, and I knew I was going to have to pay extra for it. I didn't care. I just needed to get home. But then part of my journey was for, my credit cards not to work, even though they were fine. It's because she swiped it and I had a chip, but it was like, I couldn't even pay. I didn't have enough cash. I had just almost enough. And all the stress and all of the anxiety of the entire 3-week journey just came flooding through. And I kept breathing like you're in the present moment. And in the present moment, we are tackling the issue of your bag that's too heavy, So I would, was trying to, how do we fix that with her, with the, the woman at the desk. And she knew that I was having the struggle that I was having. And she also could see that the money wasn't worth it. And she just tagged my bag and was like, sweetie, just go. You're fine. I bagged it. You're good. Go. get yourself home. You clearly need to go home. And being in that place of gratitude. And it was okay to not be okay in that moment. And things were still provided for me, but there was part of my lesson with my team to sit in the not okayness and allow whatever to unfold. There was the part of me that's like, well, do I, have my son come get my bag and mail it to me? Like what, like it somehow it was going to be taken care of. And in that place, it was because I was allowing all the emotions to flow through, I could get into that heart-centered place and be filled with gratitude for the unfolding and for the way that I got taken care of and the way that, I continued to be taken care of by my team the rest of the journey, the last leg of the trip home. And it was one of those things of, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. And when we can find a way to return to that heart flow, we're loving ourselves in all of ourselves, We're loving ourselves when we're messy. We're loving ourselves when we're joyful. We're loving ourselves when we do something we wish we didn't do. That's returning to your heart flow, that through it all, you have love and kindness and compassion for you. And that sound, like I said, it sounds so simple, but we are taught very early on that we're not good enough, that we have to judge who we are and we have to judge what we do, rather than just being is all we're here to do. Everything else is just gravy. And sometimes we love what we do and sometimes we don't love what we do, but it doesn't make it any better or worse. It's just part of what we chose to experience in this incarnation, So when we're in this place where we're being reminded to return to our heart flow, it's being reminded that if we want to experience compassion and kindness around us, we have to feel it for ourselves first. And, as somebody who has suffered with post-traumatic stress for a long time, in the depressive energy, it's very hard to find that space of love and compassion and kindness for yourself, because the voices, of our inner critic are telling us all the things we do wrong. And if we're experiencing heavy emotions, cycles of grief, cycles of grief are real, there may be an expert that tells me you have to be done with your grief in a year. Well, that's not true. Our grief cycles take however long they take. And when it is uncomfortable for our being, and when it is challenging our kindness to ourselves as we're experiencing these emotions, if the emotions are happening to us, it's like an assault, it's like an attack. And so we can feel at war with our emotions, at war with our grief, rather than in a symbiotic relationship where we can move through the dance together and there's nothing wrong with it. Rob is saying, in the depressive energy, it's impossible to find the energy to do anything but sleep. Oh yeah, it's heavy. The layers of the aura, right? Like the aura is around us, and people often in the depressive energy, right? It's weighted. It's like there's this dark cloud. And that's because there is. There is this cloud in your energy field of old negative emotion or old negative thought patterns, and it's surrounding you in your aura, in your layers. It's surrounding you. And as it gets closer and closer to your physical body, it gets harder and harder to feel separate from it. We start to feel like our emotions. We feel depressed rather than you know, for me, I remember it was like, oh, I just feel heavy. I feel depressed. Now in this place, I had lots of heavy, sad emotions that were happening through me, but there was a separation between that experience and my being. So when we can feel that little bit of separation, is that I'm not my emotions, I'm not my experiences, I'm just my being. And sometimes I'm here on Chakra Sessions and I'm sharing the wisdom that comes through from my spiritual team, and some of the experiences and the aha moments that I've had in my own journey. And sometimes I'm a mom who's making sure that, my child, who may be a grown adult, has, food in their refrigerator when they move into their first, new apartment. And, the mother needs to see that there's food in the fridge to feel comfortable with the move, and that's all my stuff, Um, and but there was also a letting go of, there is a point in time where we just honor the other person's being. And in that place of their being, are they able to get into their heart center? Do they have moments of joy? Do they have times where they can just have that wonderment and excitement, and getting to journey and see that happening for my children, and even the introspection that comes from the wisdom of the elders with my dad, the maybe I would have chosen differently. um Not that that was a right or a wrong thing, but an awareness of, our choices have a ripple effect, and we're not always aware of that. And it's not good or bad, it's just how energy flows. And when we're working on returning to our heart flow, we're trying to reconnect with unconditional love. And for most of us, that's something we haven't fully experienced here on the physical realm. We have a reckoning of it from, our being. But the way we reconnect is that we become comfortable with our inner being. We get comfortable with ourself, and we hold as much compassion and kindness for ourselves that we can. And again, I know, there's a part of me that's like, I know when I was in that space where I couldn't experience that, I might not have been able to hear this chakra message, right? I might not have been able to hear kindness and compassion for myself because my critic was so noisy and so loud and pointing out everything I was doing wrong. Even when it wasn't really wrong, right? So when we're thinking about our heart space, there are many spiritual teachers who talk about, our heart chakra and our high heart. And, I see the heart chakra and the high heart as when we're in the flow, they're connected. So our our physicality is connected to our higher being, our higher sense of self. And we have that moment of remembering that, we're more than this physical manifestation. This is the vehicle that our spirit is riding in, and our spirit doesn't care. It's just enjoying the ride. Think of it as like, you're being chauffeured. It's like, oh, I'm riding in this kind of car today, and I'm riding in that kind of car tomorrow. Is it better? Is it worse? Maybe. Maybe one's, get better gas mileage, or maybe this one's got a little better air conditioning, which is important if you're somewhere extremely hot. But maybe it's not as important somewhere where it's not, right? And, one of the things with Rob saying, with the depressive energy, it's like when it's so heavy, the only thing you can do sometimes is sleep. Well, sleep is restorative. Sleep is when we reconnect with our being. Sleep is when our thinking brain can get a little more quiet, and there's room for our intuitive brain, our divine connection, to come in and kind of bring in some other possibilities. The logic brain that we have can only create possibilities that it has experienced before. So when we want to have a life that's different, that's more in gratitude, more in love, more in compassion, if we haven't experienced that, our logic brain is not going to have the way to get there. But our spirit knows the way. Our soul knows the way. And we just need to find a way to connect to it. Which, again, sounds simple, right? But we all connect with our spirit in a different way. Some people connect in meditation. Some people connect when they walk in nature. Some people connect when they're journaling. It's that moment when the thinking brain gets really quiet. And then there's space for us to actually hear. One of the spiritual teachers I've had along the way, there's a practice that, she uses, and from time to time I remember to use it. And it's connecting with your spirit first thing in the morning before you actually do anything else. And she puts her hand on her heart and her hand on her belly, and takes a deep breath and asks her soul what it wants to experience today. Hi, sweet spirit, what would you like to experience today? And our spirit isn't all about doing. So lots of times it's like joy, light, kindness, breath. It can be very simple. And when you understand that's like your prime directive for the day, how do I experience my breath today? Then the to-do list starts to, it's still there, but is it as important? Lots of times for me, it dissolves a little. Doesn't mean it doesn't get done, but it's not done with that anxious, nervous, striving energy. It's like getting it done so it's no longer on my list, so it's not impacting my breathing. Right? When we have things in our life that are creating anxiety, it impacts our breathing, it impacts our sleep, it impacts our eating, our well-being, and that keeps us from reconnecting with our heart flow, with who we really are, with the energy of unconditional love. And Our inner critic has conditions that are constantly being spoken in our ear. Here are the conditions of love. But our divine spirit there's no conditions to love. It just is. And all the greatest spiritual masters and teachers, they didn't teach a religion, they taught love and continue to teach love. So the true sense of our spirit is the more often we can find our connection to our heart, the more we can fill ourselves with kindness, love, and acceptance, the more we're in flow with the natural energy of unconditional love. And there's a number of us here who are healers and givers. And in that healing energy, we show compassion and kindness to others all the time. It wouldn't occur to us to be, insensitive. We're just, we wouldn't say mean and nasty things because that's just not who we are. But we don't treat ourselves with the same respect, and the way we treat ourselves is the energy that we use as our magnet for what we feel we deserve to be treated, in a way we deserve to be treated. So when we fill ourselves with compassion and kindness, that's what we attract from other people. And then we are more free to give compassion and kindness because it's not given out of necessity. It's given simply through flow. And when we allow that energy to simply flow, there's no resistance, there's no agenda. It's just a breathless, a weightless exchange. And it's interesting because many people, when I first started teaching, spiritual work, a number of my students, I'm like, wow, you got your heart all closed off, you got a dungeon, you've got a moat, you got dragons keeping everybody out. And when we're that guarded, we also we're not letting anybody in, but we're also not letting ourselves out. So we're imprisoning our own heart flow when we don't share it. And the fear, that often has been attached to that is we don't want to get hurt, which is, the beautiful inner child of us, got hurt a lot. Its sweet little heart got hurt a lot. It got disappointed and its feelings were hurt. And then it felt unsafe to share that heart flow and that heart energy. But it's time for us to bring kindness back to ourselves. Remember how to be compassionate and not judgmental of who we are and what we do. Some days we have good days, some days they're rough, but when we can sit in that heart flow, there's all sorts of magical things that can happen. There's a ecstatic energy when we reconnect with our being. This remembrance of being at home in your own body. So many of us don't feel like we're home. We're looking for it externally. And really, we just need to get comfortable internally and allow that energy to flow through. Allow our emotions to just be what they are. Allow our experiences to just be what they are. We're not what we do. You know, we're who we be. And if we can hold on to that and remember that in a kind way, then the doing can be done from a heart-centered place or not at all. And that can be okay, you know? And I'm sure judges are jumping in, but what about this? And what about that? Well, what about it? In the end, it's about how did we love? How did we love ourselves? And from that loving place, how did we share love with others? That's it. That's our purpose. um, he said, "Cool, you were teaching D&D." No, but yes, right? Some of the best games out there have a little bit of, truth to them, right? A little bit of wizardry, which is really sweet. So in this energy, noticing what pulls you away from your heart flow, what pulls you away from being kind to yourself. For me, it's often not feeling safe, or having big, big emotions and being uncomfortable with them when they come through, and judging them. Even saying big emotions, it's like I'm judging them as big. It's that energy of, you know, being in the present moment as much as we can be, and in the present moment, loving ourselves for being where we are. And okay, this is where I'm choosing right now. I'm choosing to be right here, and sometimes I'm choosing to be what feels like a hot mess because that's what I need right now. And maybe being a hot mess is me opening the door of opportunity for someone else to step into their kindness and to share kindness with someone else. I may have empowered the woman at the airline checkout to reach into her kindness. She had a job to do, but in that moment, kindness mattered more. And I believe when we have those experiences, that kindness didn't shut off for the next person who was in line. That kindness might have been shared, through my bag getting handled by, different people may have felt the kindness as it went through. And the people behind me in line might have saw the kindness or felt the kindness, and it eased their anxiety, eased their tension, made their travel easier because there was a moment of kindness. And we don't give enough credit for those things. We can tell when somebody's aggravated and they irritate everyone around them and they stir everybody into a bad mood. We see that all the time. But what if in returning to our heart flow, we start to spread kindness and love and compassion, and we stir the compassion pot? So you being here is starting that flow, starting that reconnection, starting that remembrance, and maybe you can only do it once in a while. Maybe I can only do it once in a while, but that once in a while might be enough to be life-changing for someone else, and we don't even know it, right? So we're going to do a healing meditation to reconnect with all aspects, all dimensions of our heart energy, feeling the flow that happens as love and kindness and compassion and joy flow through, seeing and sensing how it feels when the rest of the body feels that and experiences that. Maybe it will allow space for other discomfort to melt away. Hopefully it will. All right, so let's get going. Always got to get centered in my chair after. Oh, and I guess it's on this side, so you can see all my Winnie the Poohs, there for your inner child, giving some extra love and kindness. That's part of, for me, that's that self love, right? Is that, having that way to hug yourself, right? We may do it with a stuffed animal. We may do it with our pet. Um, you know, it's that way for us to do some self love. So Rob wears a straitjacket. Okay. I'm sure that's self-love in a particular way. People have different definitions of love. So you can do that. So, all right, let us reconnect. Let's get grounded. Let's do some healing work, because you all deserve that. We all deserve that. So we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. I invite you to uncross your arms and legs, because we want the energy to flow to us and through us in an open circuit, so it can move out through all the layers of our aura. It can move through our entire chakra energy system and beyond. And really taking a couple of deep breaths to center ourselves back into our body, into the present moment. And in that space, simply feeling our being, recognizing the weight of our shoulders, our arms, our torso, our legs, how our body connects to the floor, to our chair, to the bed, whatever we may be sitting or laying on. And taking a couple of deep breaths for allowing ourselves to simply let go of all the doing in this moment, inviting in the being. Connecting our grounding cord more deeply, more fully, more completely. Deep into the earth's surface. And even above into the center of the divine. Feeling ourselves anchored in each and every dimension, vibration, and frequency that we are able to connect to. Inviting the divine energy, however we perceive that, as the masculine God, the feminine goddess, creator, oneness, consciousness, all that is. Welcoming that energy to reconnect, reignite our flow, our awareness, into our being for the good of all and harm to none, including ourselves. Welcoming in our spiritual teams to reconnect with us, help us, guide us in a way that we can sense, see, know, or understand more fully, more completely. Connecting to the energy in our heart, noticing any ways where we protect that sweetness within, sending love and kindness and compassion to all the aspects of ourself that need protecting or have experienced things that felt unsafe. Making room for the flow of emotions without judgment, with simple awareness. Allowing space to understand when the emotions are in the present moment or when they are flooding through from our past experiences. Releasing any judgment energy, around our feelings or our love or our kindness, our ability to feel joy. Releasing the restrictions we may have placed on ourselves in our life experiences and beliefs we've carried from other people. Ways our love has not felt supported by others. Releasing the fragments of conditions that we have placed on receiving love from others or giving love to others, and especially ways we have blocked giving love, kindness, and compassion to ourselves, quieting the chatter of the critic within. Yeah. Creating space for love to flow to you and through you. Reconnecting with your high heart, the purity of unconditional love. weaving its way through your entire energy system, healing your energy with love and light, acceptance and compassion, recognizing any places where you feel tightness in your body, in your spirit, in your being. Breathing light and compassion into those places, releasing the story, and all the ways we have justified suffering for ourselves, with others. Reconnecting with the flow in our heart space of the fullest vibration, rippling that healing out through our being, through our chakras, through our aura, and beyond. Allowing that pulse of loving kindness to radiate out to others who may need to receive it, need to remember. Or as we shift our awareness and consciousness for ourselves, that expansion can happen for others as well. And take a moment or two of gratitude, things that you're grateful for in this moment. Gratitude to your spiritual team, for gathering you here to reconnect and remember. And taking a few moments more of kindness and love and compassion for that inner child within you, quieting the storms it may be carrying. And gently begin to bring your awareness back to the present moment, to your body, to your arms, your legs, your being. You might want to wiggle your fingers or toes, stretch, gently reconnect with the physical part of your body, but still stay very aware of the kindness and the compassion. Lovely. I always love having the moments of sharing the healing energy with you, and receiving it for myself. because it's that time of reconnection, which is really lovely. Um, on Sunday, we have a full day on the Trinity Mystical Energy channel. So on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we have our monthly installment of Soul Connections, which is a wonderful time to reconnect again with your spirit, to set some intentions if you would like, and to get a reading of what the energy is like. And you're very welcome, Julie. Thank you for sharing. And Soul Connections happens once a month, and we have, this extra energy that there's the full moon. So for those of you who would like to participate, we have our full moon ritual, our full moon event, our ceremony that will happen at 1 o'clock. The 1 o'clock full moon event is a Zoom link that I'll have posted on the page a little later this evening. I didn't quite get it finished in time. You know how that goes. But we do a more in-depth individual reading, and we do some releasement energy, and as calling what we are looking to create in the new month ahead. It's a very lovely sacred ceremony. So if you would like to join us for that, that's at 1. And both of those are Eastern Standard Time, because I know some of us are in different time zones. But Sunday on Soul Connections will be here live. And I will be back next Thursday for a new chakra session. Rob might be able to bring up what next week's session is. I don't have it in front of me. I'm still a tiny bit disorganized after traveling. But here we are. We're back to reconnecting and being here for each other. So thank you for being present. As always, if you want to contact me at all for my services or for crystals or oils or sage or anything you might want. Oh, thank you. Activating your spiritual awareness with the guidance of your spiritual team. Yeah. We don't all need that. My team is very much about helping you reconnect with your spiritual team. A lot of people, only know how to connect to one, their guardian angel, and they don't realize they've got this team waiting. And actually, before I left on my journey, a brand new spray was created that actually you spray, and it helps activate your connection to your spiritual team. So that will be next week. Everything is available on Trinity Mystical Energy. If you haven't liked our channel, please do so. It is called a subscription in YouTube land, but it's really the same as liking a page on Facebook. So with that, you guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me with my purpose, which is to help the healers heal so that they can get out there and do their mission and what they're here to share, how you're meant to share your love with the world. And it's my job to just help you remember how to do that. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.